Okay, welcome to another episode of Ding and the Quiz is Done. Today is a feedback episode focusing on the work that you did for me on Monday. So, it is the 31st of March, and our Today in History is a short and sharp one. It is the anniversary of the Eiffel Tower opening in France in 1889. Now, if you hear anything going on in the background, or you can see anything in my bell, as I've had that pointed out to me that you can see my reflection in the bell, Mr. Spooner is just on the VR next to me. So, the task that you had to do was this one: explain the importance of William's preparations for the Battle of Hastings in 1066. In terms of our strength, generally I saw really strong chains of reasoning. Nobody wrote me a list. And I also saw people using the specific vocabulary from the reading really well. I know that you got this from the reading because I wasn't there to teach it to you, and it was things that, like the papal banner, which specifically appear there. So really well done. Now, in terms of areas that we can work on, first of all, a lot of you mentioned stamina and morale, and you're absolutely right to do so, but you then need to link that to specific consequences on the battlefield, because this isn't just William's preparations, it's preparations for the Battle of Hastings. Also, a couple of you tried to specifically compare the morale of William's troops to Harold's troops. Now, if it was the case that one group of these troops had incredibly low morale and one of them had incredibly high morale, I would agree with you and say that was something you could compare. But it's just really, really tight here, and that means that you would essentially have to try and put some sort of value on their morale and compare it, which just isn't possible to do. So in this case, don't try and compare the morale of the two sides. And secondly, again, this is what I said about getting that balance between knowledge vomit and knowledge starvation, making sure that you are including specific examples to prove that your overall principle is correct. So a couple of you said things like William had support from the Pope. Absolutely right, but that's a golden opportunity for you then to refer to the Pope giving William the papal banner. And then we have a couple of spag errors for us to look at, nothing huge, just the spelling of emissary and envoy. So what we're going to do now is have a look at a specific example that I thought was really strong. As you can see, I've foregone the mug today as Mr. Spooner braved the shops and brought us back some cans of Coke. So, this is a really strong example that I saw while I was marking. William's preparations for the Battle of Hastings were important because they ensured that his army had enough morale and stamina in order to fight in battle. Excellent opening principle, which this student is now going to go on to prove correct. After gathering troops and supplies from magnates, William gained the Pope's blessing and approval. Yeah, I would argue that this pupil could strengthen that by referring to the papal banner, but it is still evidence. This gave soldiers motivation to fight, encouraging them to fight in this holy battle. Yes, this allowed William to keep his army's willingness to fight, and using that as a source of motivation, he approached the time of invasion. I think it gets a little bit woolly here. I think this is the area that this student needs to work on. The chain of reasoning that they've started is really, really strong. That William gets the papal banner or support from the Pope, that gives soldiers motivation to fight. It gives them motivation to fight because they believe they're fighting in a holy war. What the student now needs to do is link this to the specific consequences for the battle. So they have referred to morale and stamina up here. They need to come back to it down here and talk about this ability of the troops to fight harder and fight for longer, which is particularly important in the Battle of Hastings, as we will see, because it's a battle in which the two sides are fairly evenly matched, and it does come down to who can last the longest. So making sure that in that final explanation, this student comes back to this and explains it, but also makes sure that they put it into their own words rather than just repeating morale and stamina to demonstrate to the examiner that they understand what those points mean. Okay, so either improve your answer or redraft it. I was really, really happy to get a couple of redrafts sent to me. And please do remember, it is vitally important that you're doing the Do Now quiz and that you're doing the written pieces of work. Over the last couple of lessons, I have seen a little bit of a drop-off in terms of people who are submitting work to me. Now, if you do it not on the exact day, you do it a little bit later, that's not a problem, but it really is important that you keep up, because I will not be able to pick this up when we return. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.